anticlimactic. I know.
Okay, now it's recording, so we're good.
Okay, yeah.
Alright, so hey everyone. I think we should start off by, I guess, introducing ourselves again.
One moment, I am typing. Okay. Wait. I know what you said. I just spaced out.
Oh, good gracious.
Oh yeah, guess what's Sensei, by the way? What, Mom? Not much.
Well, I'll start off introducing myself. I'm Lotus Moon, and this is just the next podcast we have. Because this one's just going to be for Halloween, I believe. Anyone else want to introduce themselves before I start awkwardly babbling?
Well, okay. You go.
I am the shipping princess.
Well, everybody known me from last
It's true.
podcast. I barely even talked, but hello guys, it's Secto. I've been very silent lately, so here I
am. I'm Alley Kitty. It's nice to see you guys. For the first time, all of us in one place.
Okay. I'm lovely gal.
September, you here?
I'm here. I'm just silent.
Awkward silence.
am. An eerie silence falls upon us.
Ooh!
This is TheDizzyDan. I'm also known as CreepyPastaSalad.
Okay, that gave me a bit of a start, but that was actually really good. That's like the best narrator voice I could ever hear. Probably aside from my own as well.
No, the best narrator voice is clearly the ones from, like, the 60s radio, television, whatnot. Like, I can't do it, but I'm sure there are, like, plenty of, like, YouTube clips. Like, you know that narration voice from, like, the opening up? Like, adventures out there! That sort of like voice is like the best narrated voice.
Alright. So now, like last time, I think we should choose the order we'll go in. I guess I can go first, so who wants to go next?
I suppose I'll go next.
I'd like to go next because I need to get up at 6 o'clock, and actually... I meant to say that I wanted to get off at 10. Eastern time.
I spaced out. What time?
Yes.
Yeah, it just Eastern time. It just turned 10 for us.
10 Eastern time because that's my time zone.
Okay, it's 8 here.
It's
go
10.
Ahead.
It's like 10 here for us. Boo.
Well.
So yeah, well, if you want, well, yeah, I would say if you want to go first before you go, then you can. I can go next, and then Script will go after me, and then after that, I guess whoever wants to go next can go.
I'm totally fine going at any point in time. So.
I think after I go, though, I'm going to have to get pumpkins.
Pumpkins.
Amateur lobotomy.
What?
Alright. So, Dan?
Okay.
I'm fine anywhere, really.
Alright.
Oh gosh. I just found something really funny. It's like this picture of an eraser, and it's like 4 really big mistakes, and then it's like the Teen Titans Go image.
Oh my gosh!
I have one.
Yes.
I have one of those erasers.
Yes. Big mistake.
Oh my gosh, the original was so much better. Sorry, Lotus.
He's alright.
Fangirl, I just do not like Teen Titans Go anymore.
I never liked it to begin with.
It sucks.
I just want to burn it.
Not very true to the original.
I know. Seriously.
Yeah, when will
literally, Slade has no part. Literally, I hate that. Slade's my favorite character. Well, I don't know.
When will people learn that fart jokes aren't funny?
I know. So annoying. I mean, come on. Are you freaking kidding me?
You want to know something really, really bad? I would rather watch Teen Titans Go than the new 52 version of Teen Titans.
The new 50s? Oh, yeah, because there's a new out recently, isn't there?
You, DC, we're so hopeful that you're good, but you just keep doing everything because you're so bad.
It's because they don't have any ideas. Same with Disney.
No, Disney has ideas, and
well, I guess I'm going to mix up Hollywood or something. Sorry.
Regan is my favorite character, and when they did New 52, I was so hopeful because they kept her true to the original character. She was, she was Raven.
Sure.
And some of the last issues where Raven was showing up, they gave her a transplant, and I'm just like, no.
I'm sorry. I just saw a thing of a cat tissue box, and there's like tissues coming out of its butt.
Yeah, I saw that. Anyway, anyone who has to go now, would you like to go? Like, would you like to do your story right now, or do you really have to go?
Mine's pretty short, so.
Alright, you can go first.
I forgot which one I'm going, so...
I think you said you're going after me.
Okay.
And I'm going next, so... First up, you have center stage.
Oh, okay. So this is CreepyPastaSalad. I have here a story that I did before, but it's a good one. It's Ex Oblivion by H.P. Lovecraft. Okay. And let me bring it up here. Okay. Am I good to go?
Yeah, go on.
Sorry.
Let's go.
Alright. When the last days were upon me, and the ugly trifles of existence began to drive me to madness, like the small drops of water that torturers let fall ceaselessly upon one spot of their victim's body, I loved the irradiant refuge of sleep. In my dreams, I found a little of the beauty I had vainly sought in life, and wandered through old gardens and enchanted woods. Once, when the wind was soft and scented, I heard the south calling, and sailed endlessly and languorously, under strange stars. Scene fell large down a sunless stream under the earth, till I reached another world of purple twilight, iridescent arbors, and undying roses. And once I walked through a golden valley that led to shadowy groves and ruins, and ended in a mighty wall green with antique vines, and pierced by a little great gate of bronze. Many times I walked through that valley, and longer would I pause in the spectral half-light, where the giant trees squirmed and twisted grotesquely, and the grey ground stretched damply from trunk to trunk, sometimes disclosing the mold-stained stones of buried temples. And always the goal of my fancies was the mighty vine-grown wall with the little gate of bronze therein. After a while, as the days of waking came less and less bearable from their greyness and sameness, I would often drift in opiate peace through the valley and the shadowy grove, and wonder how I might seize them for my eternal dwelling place, so that I need no more crawl back to a dull world, stripped of interest and new colors. And as I looked upon the little gate in the mighty wall, I felt that beyond it lay a dream country from which, once it was entered, there would be no return. So, each night in sleep I strove to find the hidden latch of the gate in the ivied antique wall, though it was exceedingly well hidden. And I would tell myself that the realm beyond the wall was not more lasting merely, but more lovely and radiant as well. Then, one night, in the dream city of Sacarian, I found a yellowed papyrus filled with the thoughts of dream sages who dwelt of old in that city, and who were too wise ever to be born in the waking world. Therein were written many things covering the world of dreams, and among them was a lore of a golden valley and a secret grove with temples, and a high wall pierced by a little bronze gate. When I saw this lore, I knew it touched on the scenes I had haunted, and I therefore read wrong in the yellowed. Some of the dream sages wrote gorgeously of the wonders beyond the irrepassable gate, but others told of horror and disappointment. I knew not which to believe, yet longed more and more to cross forever into the unknown land, for doubt and secrecy are the lure of lures, and no new horror can be more terrible than the daily torture of commonplace. So, when I learned of the drug which would unlock the gate and drive me through, I resolved to take it when I next awaked. Last night I swallowed the drug and floated dreamily into the golden valley and the shadowy groves, and when I came this time to the antique wall, I saw that the small gate of bronze was ajar. From beyond came a glow that weirdly lit the giant twisted trees and the tops of the buried temples, and I drifted on songfully, expectant of the glories of the land from whence I should never return. But as the gate swung wider and the sorcery of drug and dream pushed me through, I knew that all sights and glories were at an end, for in that new realm was neither land nor sea, but only the white void of unpeopled and illimitable space. So, happier than I had ever dared hope to be, I dissolved again into that native infinity of crystal oblivion from which the daemon life called for one brief and desolate. And that is the conclusion of this cautionary tale.
Nice.
Thanks.
Also,
H.P. Lovecraft is my boy.
also, let's welcome Cracked Inkwell in. Yay.
I'm so sorry for being late. I just barely got back home and... So, did I miss anything?
Maybe.
You did, but I don't know how to say it.
Something.
Thank you, September.
What? I'm very brutal and honest.
I know, it's just that I'm saying my brain can't function, but you said it.
I'm sorry, I had my hands tied, so...
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's alright. It's alright. It's alright.
So, whose turn is it anyway?
My turn.
Oh, good timing then.
Yep.
Please excuse me, but I do need to get to bed. I wasn't kidding you.
Alright.
Well, excuse.
You're excused.
Have a good night. I'll be sure to catch the videos once they're up.
Alright.
Did we just do a jinx or whatnot?
I'm referencing Emperor's New Groove in my head.
Well,
Threw off my groove.
I was quoting, I've been turned into a cow. Can I go home? You've been excused. I said that wrong. You know what I mean.
Nevertheless, the TheDizzyDan, yes, you are excused here, and, I guess we'll hear from you tomorrow then, or at least until the video's up.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Speaking of, this new groove, there's one line that Quark has that perfectly describes MLP. It's like, how did we get here? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me, or something like that. It's like because the map didn't make sense, and neither does MLP's
Origins.
Wait,
Well, to be fair, you do have a point.
wait, are we talking about me or the show?
The show.
Okay, just making sure. This is why I go by script.
So,
Or gal.
anyways, shall we get on with this party?
Yep.
Yep. All right. So,
Farewell.
goodbye.
So, Miss Moon, what are we hearing from you today?
This is the one I was supposed to do Saturday. This was the other one I was supposed to do Saturday. I was gonna do something like much shorter. I guess if I get another turn tonight, I'll do that one. But like this time, I'm gonna do the second thing I was supposed to do on Saturday. So this is just a little bit of a urban legend, but not a real one. Have you ever heard of the Hell Commerce site? Apparently, you can only access it if you have a deep hatred for someone. The site will be shown to you at midnight precisely. All you have to do is enter in the name of the person you have a grudge against. And then a little girl will appear behind you. Who is she? She is none other than Enma I, the Hell Girl. Once you summon her, one of her familiars will turn into a straw doll, and she will give it to you. And she will tell you this: if you want your vengeance, pull on the red string. By doing so, you enter into a contract with me. Once that contract has been established, your vengeance will be swiftly given to you. But there's a price. Vengeance comes at its own cost. 2 holes will appear on your chest. For once I send that soul that you have a grudge against to hell, you will also be sent to hell. That is, after you die. The choice is now up to you. It's unknown what happens to people who are shipped off to hell. It's unknown really why it happens. It could be someone who deserved it. It could be someone innocent. It really doesn't matter. Hellgirl will not try to influence your decision. She will simply swiftly carry out your vengeance. And then you must live with the consequences of what has happened. With that hole on your chest, forever etched into your skin, it's not a tattoo, it cannot come off, but it is a constant reminder that your soul has been condemned to hell. You can't escape it. So I ask you this question: is vengeance and summoning Hellgirl really worth your own soul being damned to eternal hell, never knowing the joys of heaven? Now, like I said, that's not a real urban legend. I got it from an anime that's actually titled Hellgirl, and it's like 4 seasons long. So yeah.
Bye.
Funny thing, I'm actually planning to cosplay as Hellgirl myself one year, eventually.
I'm cosplaying as Anne Rivers from Studio C this year. Yes, and if you've taken a look at the sketch, it takes a lot of character appreciation. I don't know what I'm saying. Cheesecake.
Yeah, if I can actually find the materials and everything, I might do Azure one year.
Since I got you all guys here for a second, and since I came here late, did you guys agree on what order you want to go in this time?
I believe I'm next.
And we let TheDizzyDan go first because he had to leave. And then I said it was me, and then script, and then after that, it's a little up in the air. September, are you going to do anything for this podcast?
moment to mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I'm recovering from a cold, so.
It's okay.
Or something.
I plan to do something.
All right.
Sorry, who said that?
That was September.
Mm-hmm. And I guess Secto is just going to be our, I don't want to say captive audience, but I guess Secto is going to be our audience member for this one as well, which is okay too.
Our changeling.
Well, nevertheless, I do have something I wanted to read, but I can wait here. I mean, I was the first in the last video, so I think it makes sense I would go last. And besides, I'm actually curious to see what the rest of you actually come up with.
Oh, I have something excellent planned.
Alright, script
I feel
then.
like any second you're going to tell us to pull a lever.
Alright, do I go ahead and start, or... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I guess you can go ahead and start.
Alright, also, sorry if you're hearing background noise. Mom's sewing right now, but, yeah. Alright, so, this is something that I just recently published. I actually published it Saturday, and so, it's called Nightmares Come to Life. And it's basically a story about my OC. Here it is. I heard my hoof pressing the keys from my typewriter, finishing the last chapter to my scary story before I would go to bed. I let out a yawn, growing tired from working on it for so long. I was glad there was no school the next day, and it was nightmare night. I was excited to go out with friends and have some fun after taking my nephew out for candy. I grabbed a piece from my stash to keep me awake just a bit longer. I typed the last words, and the young man realized in horror she was the last pony alive. She suddenly let a blood-chilling scream as she felt the monster dig its claws into her coat, dragging her into its lair to be devoured alive. Finally, I said another yawn. I'm finished. Bedtime. I pulled out the last page of the chapter from my typewriter and stapled the entire story together, then swallowed the remains of the sweet. I stretched out my hooves as another yawn escaped my mouth as I slowly walked toward my room. Just as I started walking, I felt something brush up against my leg, causing me to let out a startled scream. I looked down, finding my cat, Asparagus, looking slightly startled by my scream. Oh, sorry, Gus, you startled me, I said with a sigh of relief. I really need to stop writing before bed. I grumbled to myself, aloud from my paranoia. My cat then began to wrap himself around my legs as I continued walking, telling me he wanted more food. You bottomless pit, I mumbled to myself aloud with a soft chuckle. My cat seemed to never get enough food. I walked into the kitchen, falling onto my face due to my cat. He let out a hungry meow and started headbutting me. Murmuring, I got up, brushing myself off, then dished him up and continued to my room. When I entered, I crouched myself onto the bed, too tired to pull my blanket over me, and I quickly fell asleep. A few hours had passed, and I felt something on my face, figuring it was just my cat again. I gently patted his side, telling him to go sleep somewhere else, but then I felt him move onto my neck. Annoyed, I opened my mouth to speak, but I only felt myself being choked back on my air, as if being strangled. I opened my...
45 minutes since I asked you to get off.
I know, I'm almost done.
Said that 45 minutes.
Well,
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay. I opened my eyes, expecting to see my cat, but wait, what? What I saw filled my body with terror. I panicked as the monster wrapped itself around my body, squeezing me hard. I let out a mumbled scream as it slithered around me, growing tighter and tighter. I looked at the creature's face, glaring at me. I knew that monster's glare. I summoned all the strength I could, managing to chomp onto its body. It let out a It let out a high-pitched scream as my teeth sunk into its skin, loosening its grip on me. I gasped for air and let out a few coughs as soon as I hit the floor, running for my life. How did my monster come to life? I thought to myself aloud as panic thoughts rushed through my mind. I tried to think of a way to defeat it, but then realized I'd never written to that. I let out a frightened shriek once more, feeling it wrap around my legs, despite the short distance between us. I shook my leg hard, trying to shake it off, but failed. Why did I give you that power? I thought aloud, remembering the mayor in my story, who was unable to find separation from the monster. I frantically looked around the room, thinking of how I could defeat the monster. My eyes then darted over to my typewriter, causing me to think, maybe if I defeat it in reality, I'll defeat it. Maybe if I defeat it in the story, I'll defeat it in reality. I reached my hoof to my typewriter, quickly grabbing it and setting it up as the monster drew closer. I typed like my life depended on it, which it did. As I finished typing, the typewriter let out a ding, and I reached out for the paper, but I was quickly pulled away by my captor. It pulled me in, wrapping itself around me once more. I squirmed as I felt it around me. I tried to reach out my free hoof to the paper, despite the pain I felt in my body. I then let out a scream as I felt my legs being eaten away, prompting me more to reach the paper. My mind kept telling me to sleep and rest, but I forced myself to stay awake, fighting the monster's spell, but I couldn't keep up. I felt my eyes slowly close, unable to keep up any longer. As my mind slowly drifted away, I could feel more and more of my body being eaten. I tried to speak, but would only let out moans of pain and exhaustion, feeling more of my body being eaten away. I then felt a hard, painful snap on my spine, causing me to let out a startled gasp as I came to the realization I was paralyzed. I lost feeling all over me at this point, except for the painful snap. I saw images flashing through my mind, showing my family, friends, and my achievements from life. I never really said how much I loved my friends, or apologized to my best friend for never visiting her in the hospital, or other things I regretted with other people. I never thanked my teachers for all they've done for me, and never even got my first kiss. I continued trying, still attempting the monster. It wrapped itself around my hoof, trying to stop me from reaching it. I then shut my eyes, giving up. Tears streamed down my face as I felt my skull crack open, causing me to shriek in pain. All of my senses dissolved as my shriek dissolved away in the monster. And that is all I ever did so far.
Wow.
Yeah.
Remember, kids, the moral of the story is always give your monster a weakness.
Technically, that is true.
Yes, that is true indeed. You don't want to create a Super Saiyan, Superman, godlike OP monster.
Alright, I'd love to stay and chat some more, but I really gotta go now.
Alright.
Bye.
Alright, bye guys.
Bye-bye.
And since you guys are here, I've also got word from our Shining Armor, and that he's saying that he's a little way too tired to actually join us, so he won't be coming on this thing.
Yeah, I talked to him a little earlier. He said he was kind of under the weather. So, yeah, if we ever do this a third time, maybe he'll join us then. My poor Shiny.
Maybe.
Aren't we doing a rap party, though?
My poor Shiny. I should make him some. Oh my god, I've gone into cadence mode.
I'm gonna take that shiny away.
Nope. Alright, who's next?
So, yeah.
Allie Kitty, you want to go next?
Sure. Why not? So for this one, I have decided to do an old classic. By old, I mean 1843. I'm going to be doing the Telltale Heart. If I can stop yawning. So, here we go. The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. True, nervous. Very, very dreadfully nervous. I had been and am. Well, why will you say that I am bad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. I could hear all the things in the heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none. Passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood would run cold. And so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now, this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night, about midnight, I would turn the latch of his door and open it, oh, so gently. And then, when I had made the opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed that no light shone out, and then I thrust in my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Would a madman have been so wise as this? And then, when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously. Oh, so cautiously. Cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye. And this I did for 7 long nights. Every night, just at midnight. But I found the eye always closed, and so it was impossible for me to do the work. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. And every morning, when the day broke, I went boldly into the chamber, and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone, and inquiring how he had passed the night. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man indeed, to suspect that every night, just at 12, I looked in on him when he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. I watched his minute hand moved more quickly than mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. I should scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that there I was, opening the door little by little, and he had not even to dream of my secret deeds to us all. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly as if startled. Now, you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was as black as pitch with the thick darkness, for the shutters were close-fastened through fear of robbers. And so I knew that he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing upon it steadily, steadily. I had my head in, and was about to open the lantern when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in bed, crying out, "Who is there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour, I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed listening, just as I have done, night after night, hearkening to the death watches of the world. Presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. It was not the groan, or pain, or of grief. I don't know. Oh, no. It was the low stifled sound that rises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, when the world slept, it had swelled up from my own bosom, deepening, with its dreadful echo, the terrors of it distracting me. I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt and pitied him, although I chuckled at heart. I knew that he had been laying awake ever since the first slight noise when he had turned into bed. His fears had been growing ever since, thought him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not. He had been saying to himself, "It is nothing but the wind in the chimney. It is only a mouse crossing the floor. Or it is merely a cricket who has made a single chirp." But he had found all in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. It was the mournful influence of the unperceived shadow that caused him to feel, although he never saw nor heard, to feel the presence of my head within the room. When I had waited a long time, very patiently, without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very, very little crevice in the lantern. So I opened it. You cannot imagine how stealthily until at length a simple dim ray, like the thread of a spider, shot out from the crevice and fell full upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with perfect distinctness, all a dull blue, with a hideous veil over it that chilled the very marrow of my bones, but I could do nothing and see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray as if by instinct precisely upon that damned spot. And have I not told you what you mistake for madness is but over acuteness of the sense? Now I say there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew the sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart, and it increased my fury as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steady I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder, I say, louder every moment. Do you mark me well? I have told you how nervous I am. So I am. And now at the dead hour of night, amid the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a noise that excited me to uncontrollable terror. And yet for some minutes longer I refrained and stood still. But the beating grew louder. I thought the heart must be fit to burst, and now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once only. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed over him. I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done, but for many minutes the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wall. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If you still think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned, and I worked hastily but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited all between the scantlings. I then replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatsoever. I had been too wary for that. A tub had caught all. When I had made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock. Still it was dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart, for what had I now to fear? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. The shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. Information had been lodged at the police office, and they, the officers, had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled, for what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own, in a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search, and search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my constable, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigue, while I myself, with the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot, beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chatted of familiar things, but ere long I felt myself growing pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears, but still they sat and still chatted. The ringing became more distinct. It continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it continued and gained definiteness until at length I found that the noise was not within my ear. No doubt I now grew very pale. I talked more fluently with a heightened voice, yet the sound increased. And what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much as the sound that a watch would make when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the office heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key and with violent gesticulation, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited to fury by the observations of the men. The noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved. I swore. I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting, and it grated upon the board. But the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder, louder and louder, and still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no, they heard. They suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This, I thought, and this I think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. I could bear these hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt I must scream or die. And now, again, hark, louder, 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 louder. Villains, I shrieked, dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here, here. It is the beating of his hideous heart.
That is what we call guilt, everyone.
Yep.
That was actually pretty good. He was retelling the Telltale Heart by Allan Poe. By the way,
I heard. I heard. I heard. It's just that my thing was glitching. So, hi everyone. I am gutting a pumpkin. It is very pleasant and fun.
Amateurs and bottomies.
Now we know, kiddies, don't go around committing murder ever.
So no drowning kittens?
No. What? Wait, what?
You have no idea how much when I spilled it in surgery.
I was not a very nice child.
I finally finished Insurgents last night. There's so much blood in that story. It's not even funny. I think I might have to go back and have the gore tag.
Oh my goodness.
So on that note, who wants to go next?
I kind of can't since I'm covered in guts. Although if anyone does want to read the story I've linked into the chat, feel free.
You've reached our answering machine. We just updated to a singer.
September, would you like to go next?
Sure. I
I'm murdering pumpkins. Jacob? Jacob! Sorry, talking to my mom.
You probably want to mute your mic.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and mute it.
Okay, that's better.
I seriously thought that she was talking about muting her mother.
Unless
I can hear you.
unless she has like that remote from like Click, which I believe is an Adam Sandler movie.
It is.
Yeah.
So, do you have a story to tell? Short one, I hope.
I have a poem to start us off with.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh. I have a quick errand to run, so I'll put this thing on mute, but I'll listen here. At least I'll try. So, I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready, September.
Alright. The Hollow Men by T.S. Eliot. We are the hollow men. We are the stuffed men. Leaning together, headpiece filled with straw. Alas, our dried voices, when we whisper together, are quiet and meaningless. As wind in dry grass or rats' feet over broken glass. In our dry cellar, shape without form, shade without color, paralyzed force, gesture without motion. Those who have crossed with direct eyes to death's other kingdom, remember us, if at all, not as lost, violent souls, but only as the hollow men, the stuff. Eyes I dare not meet in dreams. In death's dream kingdom these do not appear. There the eyes are, sunlight on a broken column. There is a tree singing, and voices are in the wind singing, more distant and more solemn than a fading star. Let me be no nearer in death's dream kingdom. Let me also wear such deliberate disguises, rat's coat, crowskin, cross staves, in a field, behaving as the wind behaves, no nearer, not that final meeting in the twilight kingdom. This is the dead land. This is Cactus Land. Here the stone images are raised. Here they receive the supplication of a dead man's hand. Under the twinkle of a fading star, it is like this in death's other kingdom. Waking alone, at the hour when we are trembling with tenderness, lips that would kiss, form prayers to broken stone. The eyes not here. There are no eyes here. In this valley of dying stars, in this hollow valley, this broken jaw of our lost kingdoms, in this last of me places, we grope together and avoid speech, gathered on this beach of this tumid river, sightless unless the eyes reappear, as the perpetual star, multifoliate rose of death's twilight kingdom, the hope only of empty men. Here we go round the prickly pear, prickly pear, prickly pear. Here we go round the prickly pear at 5 o'clock in the morning. Between the idea and the reality, between the motion and the act, falls the shadow. For thine is the kingdom between the conception and the creation. Between the emotion and the response falls the shadow. Life is very long between the desire and the spasm, between the potency and the existence, between the essence and the scent, falls the shadow. For thine is the kingdom, for thine is life, is for thine is the. This is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but with a whip.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Okay, good work. I must say that's actually impressive.
I just lost my
Really?
marbles.
Yeah. I never really heard that poem before.
I think I just lost my marbles. But anyway, welcome Ace Flame. Yay! You made it.
Hooray!
Okay.
I'm so weird. That's why
Wait,
I wanna Fortnite.
Wait, did you just say you're weird?
Yes.
I'm so confused.
Yeah.
If you're weird, I'm weird too, because weird is awesome.
Yay. Yes. Weird is definitely awesome.
And you just look at my
Everything is
movements.
awesome.
Hold on a second.
Everything
Hold on a second. Eighth Wing's writing something. Hello, I'm still in the hospital, so I'm just here to listen. Fantastic.
Alright. Well, then I guess since Secto is also just listening, that I guess it just leaves you last, Inkwell.
Could you just wait for me about a couple of minutes? I'll be right over there.
Sure.
Is my carving disturbing anyone?
Sounds like the typical scuffle you would hear during a scary movie, only like the sound is not the sound, the voices are muted.
What? 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 I think I'm gonna need to listen to this on YouTube to get that.
I just heard.
What?
With them.
What are we talking about?
The carving sounds like if the protagonist just got caught by the slasher in a horror movie, but like you don't hear the screaming and the struggle. All you hear is like just everything falling around them and like that's
I'm
it.
technically gutting a pumpkin, and I'm also killing a pumpkin. If anyone knows that joke. No, it's murdering pumpkins. That's what it is.
I've never ever carved a pumpkin before.
Does anyone want to hear a slightly spooky story that happened to me once?
Do tell.
Okay, so when I was in middle school, I had this betta fish, and I named him Peacock because he had the colors of a peacock. And when he died, I buried him in the front yard. Don't ask, I was in 7th grade. But so my friends in my neighborhood asked if we could try to find his body, and I was like, sure. And we tried to find this place where I buried him. And we couldn't find him when we dug him up, and we thought it was really cool and kind of freaky because we couldn't find the fish's body.
That's actually
So, yeah.
That's actually scary.
Well, some people say, like my mom says, that you can't really find the fish's body or something when you bury it, or the bones are too small, something like that. I don't even remember how long it was since we buried it when we tried to find it. So, but we thought it was really freaky at the time.
But a cat dug it up and ate it.
No.
I don't think my cats eat betas. I literally set my cats right next to my beta fishes, and they just stare at it. They will literally just stare at it.
I'll do that in a second, guys. Somebody's been more calling.
Alright. I guess until Inkwell comes back, you guys want to hear the other story I have planned?
Sure. Should I go ahead and mute my carving?
You can. Is everyone else ready, I guess?
I'm going to take that as yes, because it's kind of low connection here.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
No, Mittens. You stay quiet for once. Or just tear up my carpet. Whatever. I don't care. Alright, so this one is actually kind of scary because it could happen at any given point. It's an urban legend called the Red Room. Basically, technology is kind of used against us. I don't think it can show up on the phone, but it can show up on your computer. You could be innocently browsing the net one day, and then a pop-up appears. In it, you see the words, "Do you like?" Now, for some reason, you can't close out of the pop-up. Even if you shut down your computer and turn it back on to reboot it, it still appears there. You can try all you like, but the more you try, the worse it gets. Soon, the pop-up, which is basically a red screen with black text on it, it will change. And then it'll say, "Do you like the red room?" Soon you might start hallucinating, thinking you hear a child's voice asking you the question over and over in a high-pitched voice. "Do you like the red room? Do you like the red room? Do you like the red room?" Yes, you like the red room. You like the color red. You need a red room. At this point, it's too late. You won't know what happens, but unless you're saved in time, your friends and family just may find you dead in your room, and the walls and ceiling of your room colored red in your own blood. So be wary of the pop-up for the red room. Yeah, and that's just about it. It's like super short. What was that?
What? Wait, what did you say?
What was that?
That was me quivering in fear. It wasn't that scary. I was just doing it to be random.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, actually, I had never heard about this till I saw it on the channel Snarled, and I was like, that can't be real. And then I looked it up. That is actually an urban legend. I was like, holy cow. Okay then. What? Actually, I think it's more to the story of it. But the site that I found it on is also the same site. I found the Kokiri-san urban legend. And before the one about the red room, there was like, Kuchisaki Onna and everything. And I couldn't bring myself to look at that because those images are terrifying and it's dark.
Wait, is my mic still on?
You smart from the
No, I'm serious. Is it still on?
There we go.
Because I have it in my pocket now.
Okay, I don't know what happened. I think I got something like that.
I ate brains. I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I hope I'm not interrupting on anything.
No.
Yeah.
Wait, hold up. Eighth Flame, I'm still me. Yes, I know I did a bit of a switch for like a couple seconds, but no, I'm still me. It's just an unconscious thing.
Oh, April, you did miss something. You missed the spooky story that happened to me.
And you missed me telling another urban legend. That's all.
So, whose turn is it?
It should be yours. You're the last person to go.
Oh, good. Since I actually finally got everything I need to do out of the way, and now in the most quiet room in the whole house, I want to actually finally read you guys a story that I specifically wrote for this thing.
Yay.
Sorry.
It's okay. Okay. Okay, so I suppose it's my turn then.
Yep.
Good. Because, like I said, I wanted to read you guys this one story that I've written some time ago that I think that many of you might actually enjoy this. It's a story in which I call a silent film. Written in red by Cracked Inkwell.
I wonder why in red.
Now, let's begin. To anyone who finds this, give these papers to the police immediately. This is for them in hopes of piecing together what is going on. My name is Real Projection. I'm a total nerd and member of the Equestrian Society for Film Preservation. I'm an earth pony of 24 years old with glasses. I have a short red mane and peach coat with green eyes and has a film reel as a cutie mark. If there's any chance of you finding me, please read this all the way, no matter how trivial my story may sound. I hope that each detail might help. Now, one important fact that I think you should know is that out of all the silent films that were ever made between the years 894 to 929, around 90% of those films were ever made are now lost. And out of that, as high as 70% were destroyed over time. There are a number of reasons for such a high mortality rate among films from this period. Mostly it's due to the film itself that the cellophane that was soaked in nitrate. Not only does it disintegrate due to lack of care, but they tend to self-combust if exposed to heat. So, needless to say that there have been plenty of films over the years in which movies, finished or unfinished, literally went up in smoke. There were other reasons that you might expect too. Some of them were poorly made, so they were shoved away somewhere to be left forgotten. Others were to be put in wrong film casters in which they have inaccurate titles, in other words, making it harder to find. Even many were thrown away because, at the time, ponies didn't see the need to preserve their movies for future generations, along with one other reason that I unfortunately found out, but I'll get to that later. But not to say that there weren't any good films that were worth preserving. As a film enthusiast myself, my interest lies in this time period of the silent film era. I guess that I've always loved silent movies. The level of creativity with these writers, directors, actors, and special effects artists had pulled off, despite of what they had, is something that captivated me. I love the early monster movies with vampires, phantoms, and even a few killers that hunt in the dark. I also love the great fantasies of the South Arabian Nights, The Last Sea Pony, and the recently rediscovered sci-fi classic Metropolis. I guess that I fell in love with how they pushed the boundaries with their experimental films at the time, with motion, when the motion picture itself was so brand new. Well, our job at the Equestrian Society for Film Preservation is to search out any and every film that we could find to restore, copy, and preserve for the next generation. It's something like a glorified library for films, from great epics that were once made for the big screens to early film family movies, home movies from long ago. We keep our eyes peeled for any films that are lost. Needless to say, it was the perfect job for me. I loved it and how much passion I had for old-timey movies, which led a window into the past. Especially when some pony discovers a silent film, I just sit back and watch something that hasn't been seen in nearly a century. You see, my job was to watch whatever new films come in to review them to see if they need any sort of restoration before we can copy and catalog them. I think we hit the jackpot. These were the words that the head librarian told me when he walked in with a cardboard box on his back. We just got a donation in today from a state sale from Maplewood. As he set the box down beside my desk, I peeked into the contents of it. There were canisters that cringingly had rust on them. Where were all these stored in? I think there was some attic. From what our donor told me, since they don't really have the type of projector to see them, they just decided to give these things to us. Gingerly, I picked up one of the small canisters up. And as nice as that sounds, some of these kind of look corroded. And just from what I can see, most of these look like home movies that are probably kept in poor condition. But you don't know until you actually look at them. So, what kind of projector do you want me to bring up?
Inko?
Well, let me sort these out first, and then I'll come and get you. After the head librarian went away, I set to work separating the canisters. From that box, I quickly found that each canister had a different thickness, so I paired them up into stacks. Truth be told, I was worried as it was clear that whoever owned these certainly didn't know how to properly take care of them. Apart from the rust, there was a slimy substance that oozed from the lids, and some of them weren't even labeled, so I couldn't even tell right away what year they were made. Out from that box, there was a lot of small ones, like those that were made for personal home movies. But when I got to the bottom of it, my heart raced as there underneath all those rolls, there was one that was much bigger than all the rest. Immediately, I knew what this was. It was a motion picture lid from Pony Artist Studios that, to my excitement, had the date of October 9/28, a silent film. Immediately, I took out the box and put it on my desk to open it. Of course, given that these had rust around, I had to pry the thing up in order to get it open. But once I had heard it pop, I lifted over my head to get the biggest surprise of that day. The wheel in which the film was wrapped around was red. Now, this gave me pause before I cried out in excitement, because I knew what this meant. It was banned. For those who don't know, during the silent film era, that shortly after movies were produced, they would be reviewed by the studios that were made under the roofs to see if they made up to their standards. If it passed, they would be put in black reels and to be copied and distributed to movie theaters around the country. However, if that said movie were found to have something that wasn't acceptable, or if that director had gone too far, it would be put in red wheels to be placed in the vault, never to be shown again. So, understandably, finding any of these banned films was extremely rare. Of course, I couldn't wait to see what movie this was, and by the look of the film, it was surprisingly in good condition. So hopefully, it shouldn't be needed of any restoration. So, after calling up the head librarian to have some point to bring up two types of projectors, they were brought into my office to be pointed at the blank white wall. Now, normally I would review the smaller rolls first. However, since I hadn't seen any old movies in months, I was itching to see something new. So, after getting the reels into the machine, carefully picking up one end of the celluloid to weave around the wheels and hooking onto the other reel, I turned off the lights in my office, and put the projector on. Excuse me. The old machine came to life with the familiar rapid clicking sound, and the title card up on the wall had only one word: followed. In all my knowledge of movies that had a huge budget behind it, especially when it was made at Pony Artist Studios, I have never heard of this movie before. So, understandably, I was rather excited that I was going to be the first pony in nearly 100 years to see this. There were other title cards which showed the names of the director, producer, film editor, etc. Interestingly enough, there were only two main actors for this. One was an actress that was playing Miss Daisy, who was performed by Starstruck, a name in which I never heard of before, and an actor who, interestingly enough, had a question mark that was performed by Chevalier de Silhouette that, again, I have never heard before. The movie began with an overshot of a busy city street in which it looked like Manhattan, where the lights were starting to be turned on. Carriages and taxis running while ponies go to and fro from the sidewalks. The sky overhead showed that it was getting close to twilight. Manhattan, read a title card. A place famous for being the city that never sleeps. Millions of souls live and die every day in this modern metropolis. To this, it cuts to a sign of a law firm in which it pans downward towards the front entrance, where a mayor pushes a door to step out. On the black and white film, she was wearing the clothes of the time period, in which she wore a white hat and overcoat. When she looked up, glancing at both sides of the streets, even her makeup, I noticed, corresponded to the 20s, with her dark lipstick, pale face with eyeshadow with mascara, and a wavy mane style that was typical of the time period. This is Miss Daisy, a title card read, a single hard-working mare that had completed her work for the day, and is about to make her way back to her apartment. I watched it as this mare on the wall walked down from the stoop to the pavement, in which the street lamps lit up overhead. Ponies walk past her as she tries to wait for a taxi. However, none of them seem to notice, so she began moving up along the street, with the camera following her as she stopped every so often and tried to get any cab's attention from the traffic. However, from a shot of the street, those taxis seemed full and the drivers weren't interested in stopping. Understandably, the white mare seemed getting increasingly frustrated. Eventually, she went up to a random standing asking, "Excuse me, is there a bus stop nearby?" He pointed a hoof down the street. The mare simply thanked him and continued down. While the camera followed her, there was something rather off about this scene. Right behind her on one side of the frame, there was something dark that synchronized with the mare's steps. Only the face that was hidden as the stallion had a dark trench coat and a wide brim hat as black as raven feathers. And the collar was higher to the point where I couldn't make out the face that was deterring and following this mare. There was something uneasy about watching this. At the moment, the mare on the wall didn't realize it, as she looked somewhat annoyed, walking towards to what I assumed to be the bus stop. However, the stranger right behind her followed her like a shadow, in which he wasn't too far behind among the bustling crowds. Eventually, she stopped when she reached a packed bench in which a figure walked behind, leaning against a brick wall. Miss Stacy looked down at her to watch, before asking a young mare about the bus. "Next one doesn't come by for another 10 minutes, ma'am," the title card read, cutting back to the mare, sighing frustration. However, while she was rolling her eyes, she was able to spot the figure that was following her. From there, the camera had her and the stranger in the film. Her expression slowly morphed. Gone from mere annoyance, her face drooped with discomfort, almost as if she knew who this pony was. And whoever it was, her expression told that it wasn't good. At first, Miss Daisy tried to ignore that shady stallion as she faced towards the street, anxiously looking this way and that, waiting for any sign of the bus. However, every so often she would glance down to see the stranger was still there, unmoved. Then, before the title card showed up, she appeared to be talking to herself as she said, "Maybe I'll go faster by subway." And with that, she nervously walked on, a little faster than before, only that the stallion was moving again, closely following her trail. While I watched this, I was trying to figure out what exactly was going on. Obviously, this wasn't your typical movie, but I didn't see exactly see the reason why this would have been banned. It's a little unsettling, for sure, but at the same time, as I watch this mare go down a flight of steps towards a subway with the stalker closely behind, there was a sense of an increasing dread as I was unsure where this was going. Now in the subway, Miss Daisy went into the waiting area where a mob of ponies were waiting for their little trains to get there. The camera cut up to the mare, trying to hide her pursuer behind a wall of Manhattaners. And yet, the shadowy stallion in the trench coat somehow knew where she was, and judging from the outline of his muzzle, he was looking at her direction. But for a moment, the stranger didn't dare move any closer. As for the mare, her hoof tapped impatiently for the train to get there, as her expression was nothing but anxiety. To her relief, the camera showed a ray of light that swept through the crowd before the train came rushing through the frame. And as soon as it stopped, its doors opened, and she and the stalker rushed in. The camera then cut to being on board with a stuffed train cars where all the seats were taken, and the ponies came on, including Miss Daisy, had to stand. Immediately, I noticed for once, the stranger wasn't in sight, but the camera crept forward towards the mare. I suddenly realized that this shot was from the pursuer's point of view. While the camera did at times jolt with the moving train, it was still clear enough to make the increasingly frightened look as she glanced back behind her. So she did what anyone in her situation would have done. She pushed her way up the train, trying to get out of his sights. Yet, as she moved from one car to the next, so did the camera that crawled right behind. Suddenly, when the train made it stop, she immediately got off and galloped away. And now, I've seen plenty of films in my time in which there were really good acting in it. But as I watched, the look on the mare's face and the body language she used, something told me that she wasn't acting at all. As if this thing was genuine. As if she's trying to get away, really trying to get away, no doubt about it. But for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why. I had a thought that made me think that this was no ordinary movie. On the wall, the projector showed the mare getting out of the subway into a rather dark side of town. She was running now, going down pitch-black alleyways, while the camera played tricks of light and shadow as she went through porch lights, windows, open doors that provide the only illumination in the scene. The editing became quicker as it would show flashes of her as she was running for her life between the darkness and the few lights that shined down. But within those same shots, I also saw her stalker chasing after her. Then, Miss Daisy made a sharp right behind some garbage cans, while in the gray darkness, I saw tears running of tears rolling down her cheeks, while stuffing her mouth with her hoof to silence herself. And in that same frame, the silhouette of the stalker walked right underneath the street lamp, in which he stopped underneath it. In that silence, I was on the edge of my seat as the stallion in black looked around this way and that, his ears twisting around to listen. Behind the garbage, the mare was crouching down, her eyes wide and her makeup stained. Then the pursuer turned towards the camera and began to walk slowly forward, casting a long shadow towards the viewer. The mare scooted further into the shadows, trying to stay out of sight. I held my breath as he stopped. His face was still in inky darkness, tilted his head to the right and to the left. The mare shone to reflect this anxiety that I had, as she tried to figure out what to do. Then, her hoof reached down into the garbage to pick up an open can, and as carefully as she could, threw it threw it off to the other side of the screen, to which caught her stalker's attention. And as soon as he went away to investigate, the mayor slipped out. The camera cut to a gaping mouth of a darkened alleyway in which the mayor emerged from. Rushing out onto the pavement, she was calling out for help, in which some of Manhattaners took notice of her. At first, I felt relief as the police offered to assist the distressed mayor, like having a few of them go search for the stalker, one of them to get the police officer while another flagged down a taxi. But at the same time as she got into the cab, I sighed in relief. Well, at least she was able to get out, I said aloud to myself. However, the film wasn't done yet. As she showed, it showed Miss Daisy being taken back to her apartment complex, where a police officer was waiting for her, in which she retold the story. At least I managed to get away, a title card read. For a moment, I thought I was done for. The officer told her not to worry, as he'll try to pursue her down. After thanking him, she made the client up the stairs to the 5th floor, where she stayed. From there, the camera faced right in front of her door, in which there was a wire basket full of milk jugs resting beside it. The mayor unlocked her apartment door slightly, but stopped for a moment to pick up the basket with her teeth. She kicked her door wider with a hind leg, and my heart stopped when in the darkness of the room, in the light of a window, was the shadow of her stalker. She walked backwards into the apartment and closed the door. Immediately, the final title card read, "The End," before the film ran out. Now, you might think that I'm writing this story because that this little movie left such an impression on me, that it might have been pointless in telling you this, but it's not. It really is not. Granted, it was unnerving after I watched it, even more so when I did my research into finding out who these actors were. Only as I dug into the list of actors of the time period, I couldn't find a single mentioning of either of them. Not only that, I couldn't find any mentioning of the director, producer, writer, or even the film editor. It was as if whoever worked on this didn't want their names to be attached, or they never existed at all. It was as if this movie shouldn't exist, and yet here it is in physical form. More importantly, I'm writing this down to not only tell you what I saw of the film followed in print, rather to do this in case if I go missing. Ever since that day I saw that movie, I had this feeling like I'm being watched from somewhere, regardless if it's just me in my office or in a crowd. I feel like I'm being followed by someone, no matter where I go, even in my own home. I have this growing paranoia, like I'm going to be taken at any moment. Now, you, the reader/listener, may think that I'm slowly being driven mad, and up until yesterday, I would have agreed with you that I should seek psychiatric care. But the thing is, I saw him. As I was walking home, I saw the same shadow that was in the film. I don't know how, but I have seen him as he silently followed me back home, where I have locked and barred the doors and windows. This is why I bothered to write nearly a 7-page testimony as a precaution, in hopes that to give the police an idea of what happened to me. But most importantly, to give a warning. The film followed was banned for a reason. Viewing it is risky, and the full extent of the dangers are unknown. My stalker is waiting for me to come out to do Celestial knows what. So, I'm going to take on this experiment. If I open the door for 5 minutes and nothing happens, then I'll just tear this up and throw it in the trash, where I'll schedule for a doctor to help me. And if this is still intact, please, come and find me.
Wow.
The end.
Wow.
Dang. Phew.
Interesting.
I also finished carving my pumpkin while you were doing that.
Huh.
It's not that great.
That was a good reading.
It reminds me of
The
the movie.
pumpkin's not
It
great.
reminds
The
me of the
reading was
movie
good.
It Follows.
That was good.
It reminds me of the movie It Follows, but you know,
Brother
more
of
tame.
mine, come carve your pumpkin, please. Fine, I'll do the guiding, you do the carving. Despite this crooked knife. Seriously, I like bent the knife.
How?
Sorry.
That was actually a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mind me, I'm just stabbing this pumpkin's head. Is the pumpkin taking my head?
Well, at least that gives me an idea what to do tomorrow.
Look at it.
Tomorrow is the last day I have to put up with this gelato promotion.
Tomorrow is going to be crazy and chasing my nephew into my friend's house.
Tomorrow, I really don't want to go out anywhere, but I have to.
At least the only thing I'm looking for tomorrow is the spud nuts.
Is that everybody?
Yeah, that was everyone. Eighth Flame
Well,
couldn't.
I've got through everything I want to read.
Eighth Flame couldn't participate,
Need a bunch of
and
googly eyes and some barbed wire.
Secta was quiet.
Sorry, that was my brother. He was telling me about his pumpkin.
Let's see, what does he say? Hello, I'm still in the hospital, so I'm just here to listen in fantastic. Just a little Philly voice. Oh, hi. Oh, now I notice a person with a muted mic out. No, it's drowning out the hospital TV. I stole my cousin's bowl full of candy today. Evil smiley face.
You could have told me that before I started cutting it.
Let's see. What is this? Oh, and by the way, Miss Moon, Eighth Flame also writes, you just went from normal voice to Lily's voice. Who are you and what you've done with Lois Moon?
Yeah. When you were away, I told an urban legend about a pop-up that shows up on your computer basically asking, do you like the Red Room? You can't even exit out of the pop-up, so basically you're pretty much like influenced by that pop-up to like basically commit suicide and just splatter your blood everywhere.
I'm getting ready to share something in the chat that made me give up on carving pumpkins this year.
Oh dear. I feel like I should be
I'm
scared.
just saying that. What?
I feel like I should be
Have you actually
scared.
seen this picture?
Oh my god!
Wait. Okay, so I'm using a phone. Can I access the chat and still be in the voice chat?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That is
How do I...
gorgeous.
I saw that and I was like, nope, not carving a pumpkin this year.
Dang!
You got talent.
Or you could probably do what I did back last year when I carved my pumpkin and give it acupuncture needles. And make it look like it's screaming.
I'm just saying as a fact, I had another story that was on my list from earlier, so...
Wow, someone actually... When was this done? This must have been like before the movie.
The link from Derpity is posted on the 22nd of this month.
Jeez. You have the time and talent to carve Tempest into a pumpkin. I am done. Pumpkin carving goals accomplished.
Well, plus, keep in mind how much hands that takes. Like, I just carved a Nightmare Moon one. Dang, it took... And it was like a mare in the moon. Yeah, I even have a picture.
Oh my.
It's not that great.
Yeah, I wouldn't even try. I wouldn't try carving a pumpkin. I'm clumsy. I can't carve a pumpkin. I might accidentally cut myself. Ooh, that's actually pretty good. Better than
Better than
anything I could do.
Yeah, we do these window things every year at our house. We have an Oogie Boogie cut out and we put it in our window. And I've been
Oogie
trying
Boogie.
to get Mom to do a Man in the Moon for the past few years.
Oh, that's what I'm doing tomorrow. Tomorrow, on Freeform is like gonna be like a full run through marathon of just playing Hocus Pocus, I think. So I'm probably gonna spend half the day watching that.
I completely forgot about my Halloween cover.
So, are we still doing that cover of Come Little Children?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Do you want?
Who can do an instrumental of that? I want to do a cover of that too.
Yeah.
Instrumental or Peter Howard style?
I'm afraid you're gonna have to let me out since I don't really have the best singing voice.
Well, you can
So,
even
my
probably just
apologies.
like do the. You could probably do one of the monsters, like Oogie, or something, or one of the witches, or.
Oh yeah, Oogie Boogie. But like, yeah, who can do like an instrumental track?
But Lotus, I will see if I can find a karaoke version.
Ooh, yeah, get one. Yeah,
And
yeah.
Singer,
Yeah.
for the one that we're doing, do you want me to do it? Do you want the instrumental, or do you want to do like an acapella Peter Collins thing?
I was thinking about doing an acapella version, but then I tried it and like it didn't really come out right because I felt like I was forcing myself to do it. So, yeah.
Well, I am planning on going through and editing out, because basically I'm planning completely around the way where it sounded on the battlefield in Forgotten Legacy, this sonata technique.
Hold on, we got something from Eighth Flame. He says, I was going to do a song cover of Make the Microphone Nightmare Night for tomorrow, but I'll wait till next month
Sorry.
Yeah.
Wait.
I'll be right back.
Oh, I see what he's saying.
Okay. Anyways, if you don't mind, everyone, I think I probably have to go. I mean, at least I finally got reading two the stories I wanted to do tonight. So, and I'm actually glad at least my story was, well, enjoyable for the rest of y'all.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was actually really good, and
I also like
this is a really big
the one
cautionary
you
tale.
did of
What, yesterday?
No, the one based on Winchester.
Oh, Harriet Hollow. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to do that, but I thought it was too long, so I wrote this thing.
Yeah, that was a little bit long. I mean, the Telltale Heart's kind of long. It's like 9 pages.
So,
Alright, I'm back.
So I think I have to go, but I hope you guys would enjoy the rest of the whole podcast.
Alright. I think we're pretty much. I believe we should be pretty much done because everyone got a chance to go.
I still have one story if you want to hear it.
I think I'll hear it tomorrow when the video comes up. But in the meantime, I wish all you a good night and happy Halloween.
Oh yeah, it's almost midnight. Happy Halloween.
Good night.
Happy Nightmare Night.
Yeah. Something sweet to bite.
Farewell and pleasant dreams.
Sweet nightmares.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say it. I don't watch too much of Lily, but I know it.
It's coming out.
No.
Sweet nightmares, everybody. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Don't hate me.
Alright. Alright, NLP. Script. You said you had one more story?
Wait, Woodrick? doing now.
You said you had one more story you wanted to tell before we end it off?
Okay. Yeah, just let me get it open real quick. This is actually something I wrote a few months ago during English, or at least the first chapter.
Alright.
Okay. So it's called Dark Fears, and it's actually one of my Wattpad stories. Alright. I walk alone in a dark and cold alley, slightly panicked for what would lie ahead. The cold wind blew softly, causing a chill to crawl up my spine as I shiver. I turn around when I hear a loud clang from behind me, startling me. I stop walking, freezing where I was. I watched a shadow grow slowly on the ground, causing me to grab a nearby rock, and I waited for the moment to attack. I threw it, startled by a yell from a cat, along with a hiss as the rock barely hit the stray animal. It ran back to wherever it was going before. I let out a sigh, continuing on my path. But then was startled once more by my phone vibrating in my pocket. I ignored it, continuing the walk in this dark place. Why did I agree to this? Why did I lie to this stranger? Why did I agree to go down this alley alone? My phone buzzes once more, causing me to realize it was my mother, growing concerned for me. It wasn't like me to answer a text. I began to panic. Should I go back? I thought. Finally, a voice said, startling me once more. Thought you weren't coming. As if, I scoffed, I would never miss out on this type of opportunity. I walked up to him, trying not to show any fear. Look, Sid. Tim, whatever. Look, Sid. From now on, you call me Gut. Why? I asked. Gut stared at me with a glare in his eye. He walked up to me, holding a knife in his hand, bringing it inches away from my throat. I gulped. You'll see in time, he said, pulling the knife away. Something inside me was telling me to turn around and run, but my legs wouldn't respond. My phone then began to ring, causing my heart to thump harder. Gut glared at me more, grabbing my phone out of my pocket. I thought I told you not. I ran as fast as I could, as my legs could go, but I felt something grab onto my hood. I let out a yelp from the sudden impact with my neck. Gut didn't pull me back. He just held onto my hood. I shut my eyes tight. You ain't going nowhere, Sid, he uttered. It's Tim. I let out a loud scream of pain, feeling something sharp make contact with my arm. I opened my eyes, feeling a large cut bleeding on my arm. I told you before, and I'm not telling you again, Gut said. I stared at the knife, inches away from my throat, once more. He finally withdrew his knife. I then quickly kicked him in the shin and ran again, faster this time. Oh, you getting it now, Gut chuckled. I ran, not turning back, until I heard guns fire. I looked, and surely enough, he had a shotgun in his hands, shooting repeatedly towards me. I let out a cry when I felt a bullet making impact with my foot. I tried to run faster. Skipping was all I could do. I felt another bullet make contact with my arm. I'm so stupid, I thought to myself. Any other girl my age here would think twice before I let out another scream as another bullet made contact with my body. This town has been abandoned for years. I should have thought this through more. I turned a corner, losing Gut. I hid behind a dumpster to tend to my injuries and catch my breath. I took off my jacket, ripping out the sleeves to wrap them around my wound. My head grew slightly dizzy, causing me to work faster, but was hard when I couldn't feel my arm. I suddenly heard footsteps. I froze in the position I was in, trying not to make a sound. My eyes grew heavy from the blood loss. I kept pushing myself to stay awake, but I couldn't keep up. I fell onto the ground with a grunt, giving away my location. I watched the feet walk up to me as I shut my eyes, falling into the dark abyss that would lead me to my death. And that is all I've written so far.
I feel... Okay, no, I shouldn't say I feel like that should be where it ends, because it could be like a twist where, like, you get rescued and everything. But that's actually pretty good so far.
Yeah, basically, if I remember correctly, the next chapter basically is like getting kidnapped or something. I could be getting mixed up with one of the other stories. I don't know.
You probably are.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was just like something random I thought about writing. Also, to be honest, the character was originally going to be a guy, but I don't really remember what the girl's name was going to be. So I think it's like something.
No, I still don't have a story. Sorry to disappoint everybody.
Yeah.
That chick only got like a big ass bag of chips, though.
Well,
And a shitload of Reese's Pieces. Well, of course you do. It's Halloween.
well, I guess if you'd like to listen to it, I have one more I could read, and then we can end it off.
Sure. If they're not that one woman with the scissors and cut out Mel, I swear to God.
No, it is not Kuchisaki Onna. I'll say that for next
I
time.
cannot say that word, so don't leave me alone.
Basically, Kuchisaki Onna is a slipmouth woman. No, it is not that one. I'll say that for next time. No, this one is actually a story I already did a reading for. Like this was like actually my first dark reading.
Oh, I should probably tell her I don't have that number now.
All right, so this story.
Oh, Lotus, I found a karaoke version for you.
Yay! Send
Oh yeah.
send
Quick
me.
question though, Ali. Sorry about this.
It's cool.
Can I ask real quick? Or
What?
how exactly are we going to do it?
Well, I have.
Wait. Don't discuss that here. YouTube is always watching.
My
Open.
my system is set up for music and video editing,
Okay.
and I just use Ponyverse. So
Okay. You could maybe just like send me a PM on Discord.
but I can do, if we're doing an instrumental version, I can go ahead and write out the instrumental version, because I have GarageBand and I can do things like that.
Yeah, I usually just
And then
do this side.
and then send out the music file.
Yeah. I just basically record my voice and then add the instrumental, or just use the.
I can barely hear you.
Yeah, sorry.
amazing fun.
For my phone. Basically, I cheat. I use Movie Maker to record stuff. Kind of.
Yeah, I can edit it all together as long as I have a decent MP3 file.
Yeah. I might just like try to do the Halloween cover by myself with a few friends.
Oh, you guys are sandwich.
But I really wanted to do this for ever since I wrote that scene. I wanted to hear Sonata singing it. Because it's always Luna or somebody like that.
I can't do. Not that I think about it. I think I can do it.
But has anybody, have any of you read Forgotten Legacy out of my story?
Not yet.
I can actually link you the specific chapter if you want. I'm feeling awe over that Tempest Shadow pumpkin.
Start
Everyone ready?
I'm ready. Sorry for the interruption.
Fuck yeah, let's do this! Woo!
Okay, let me mute my pocket noises.
Muting.
It's true.
Alright. This, like I said, is the first dark fic I ever did. This one is called Corruption, and it was written by Cosmonaut. Fluttershy bowed her head, frightened, unable to move. She could have fled, yet Both wings had instinctively snapped to her sides. Each shaking leg felt like heavy blocks of wood. She hid her face behind her hair, knowing perfectly well the only thing it would hide was her line of sight. Yet within the hollow emptiness of the broken castle, crumbling near the everfree forest, she could do nothing but listen to the eerie voice booming around her. There's nothing to fear here, Fluttershy. Nothing to flee from. The disembodied voice rumbled, bouncing off the ancient stone walls. You'll not be hurt. Not a single delicate yellow feather, not one strand of pink hair. Please, squeaked Fluttershy, her eyes shut tight. Please let me go. Nothing binds you here, but your own fears, my dear, whispered the voice extremely close to her left ear. Fluttershy shrank away to no avail. It's a terrible thing to let run your life. Fear will root you in one spot. Fear will slow you down, hinder your freedoms. Stop! Stop! Stop talking to me, please. I'm so scared. I just... The thin yellow hairs of her coat went on edge, an unseen force brushing her long pink hair gently, removing it from her face. Would you like it to never feel such needless fear ever again? Suggested the voice. That particular question, that one question so far, piqued a flicker of interest from the unassuming yellow Pegasus. Cautiously, she opened one eye. What do you mean? A life full of constant confidence, whispered the voice seductively, gently brushing against her ears, where you will find power, strength, and bravery in yourself. Tell me, tell yourself, wouldn't you enjoy that feeling? Fluttershy cast her eyes to the stone floor of the castle. She couldn't list the times in her life she felt bad for herself, the lack of confidence ruining situations that could have been mended had she the nerve to stand up for her friends, for herself. Every pony would look up to you. Every pony would appreciate your presence, your actions, your decisions, your voice. The gentle, smooth strokes of that unknown presence continued pushing against her hair, her ear, calming her as she thought. Every pony would love you. Relaxing a little and turning the idea over in her mind, she ruffled her feather wings. Her wing feathers. My mistake. That, doesn't sound so bad, I guess. She finally replied aloud. For the first time since she wandered in here after that frightened black jackrabbit she smiled. Alright. Okay. So, how do I make this work? The invisible force removed itself from her hair. Fluttershy felt the magical presence surrounding her, followed by an immense pushing sensation on her forehead. All you have to do is open up, Fluttershy. It said louder now, a harder edge to the disembodied voice. Fluttershy gasped, blue magical mist appearing in front of her, a magical probe probing at her forehead, the pressing sensation amplifying strongly now. And let me in. Screaming loudly, Fluttershy fell forward to the floor, the magical energies funneling through her skull, burying itself within her mind. It didn't hurt at all, but she could feel new strange sensations warming through her, invading every aspect of her body as the enduring spirit, so full of promises and suggestions, snaked through her entire body and settled itself inside. Fluttershy kicked and writhed helplessly as the large blue shimmering cloud that was just hovering before her eyes channeled itself through her body until, with the space in front of her, was completely void of blue light. She waited on the floor for what seemed like hours, eyes shut as her body pulsed and shook, parts of her stretching and expanding, growing, lengthening to encompass the new guest she had so readily invited inside. It finally stopped, prompting her to open her eyes. Oh, oh my! What am I? She exclaimed, looking down at her forelegs. On instinct, she took to the air, nearly crashing into the ceiling with just two flaps as she inspected her longer, stronger, feathery black wings. Mind racing, she circled the large empty room for a mirror, and finding one, landed to examine her body. Her lips trembled at the pony that stared back at her in the mirror. The pony was tall, impressive, jet black, and sleek looking. A long spiral horn was growing out of her forehead. Now, relatively short pink hair brushed aside as it extended above her eyebrows. Her cutie mark remained, scarily out of place compared to her new dark form. What struck her the most was the eyes that stared back. Once beautiful turquoise shaded pupils, now a paler, thinner set of slits, like some sort of lizard. Fluttershy stepped backwards, turning away from the image, like some sort of monster. Do you like what you see? You! She yelped, turning her head around frantically. What have you done to me? Do not bother looking for me. I'm here with you now. You let me in. Such a kind thing you are, you know that? Change me back! I don't want this! I look like... I look like a pony anymore! She shrieked anyway, spinning in frantic, nervous circles. Frantic, she slammed her hooves into the stone floor. I don't look like Fluttershy. We are something more now, Fluttershy. Do you feel anything deep inside? I feel... She closed her eyes again, taking deep breaths, trying to calm down. There was something new. She could feel some sort of intense buzzing running under her coat, tingling at her forehead, flexing her long black wings. A shudder flew down her neck and her back. There was something running through her veins, like she'd been struck by electricity. But instead of searing pain, the energy flowing through felt different. It didn't hurt. It felt as she could fly for miles or run a marathon. I feel nice, she said finally, opening her eyes back up. I promised you that nothing would hurt. No, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. You screamed. I always scream when I'm afraid. Are you afraid now? Fluttershy turned towards a small archway she had squeezed through when she entered the castle. By her will alone, the archway cracked, then blasted itself apart, allowing fresh moonlight to embrace her dark form. She trotted outside, taking a deep breath, and walked through the ever-free forest with her head held high. Never again, she whispered to herself. Fluttershy spread her now impressive wings and took off into the inky black sky. Good. Alright, that's the end of the story. The end. Wow, I had points where I started sounding like Lily there. Ow, I think I clicked my arm the wrong way. Ow.
Okay. Let me tell you something. While I was sharing that, you made me at least try to make me pee my pants.
Did I miss it? No, seriously, did I miss it? Because my phone's evil.
We need to pick on Fluttershy a lot.
Why I'm so confused.
I can do a good Fluttershy. I think that's one of my best voices.
It's like,
I think that's one of my best voices. Alright, everyone. If no one else has any more stories, I think it's time to end it here. It's getting close to midnight, meaning it's almost nightmare night. And we're hitting and we're also hitting the 2-hour mark for the podcast.
Wait, what? What?
We are about to hit the 2-hour mark.
Again.
Wait, should we literally wait for it to be midnight there and then say happy nightmare night, or?
The thing is, though, I'm down for the extra 6 minutes. We may not have music in the channel anymore. It may be really.
Well,
wait, what?
Well, in my case, we have like 6 minutes left, so we could just end it here.
But I don't think I could stay up until midnight. I have school.
Yeah, mine says 11:50.
I would have to wait till 10. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh yeah. So yeah,
because Lotus, you're 2 hours ahead of me.
Yep. So we can end it pretty much right here. So.
Okay, let's just pretend it's midnight. Let's just pretend it's midnight. Okay, it is now officially 10 o'clock here and 12 there. Okay, Mom.
Well, everybody, you heard it first. Happy Nightmare Night and sweet nightmares. Bye!